Jen, Johnson, take us in.
I'm losing control.
What? We're off course!
Daniel!
From 2008 to 2013, Dead Space was a premier survival horror franchise with sequels, spin-offs, comic books, and animated movies, only to be completely dropped after Dead Space 3. Now returning to where it all began, EA Motive is set out to remake the original game as faithfully as possible, while adding extra details to enhance the terrifying journey.
It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening.
The game begins with a distress call from the USG Ishimura, a planet-cracking ship used to harvest resources in deep space. A small crew, including engineer Isaac Clarke, responds to the emergency signal, and soon they find themselves stranded on a ship full of horrifying monsters with no way to escape. The plot largely stays true to the original, but improves on it by adding meaningful insight and new interactions between characters. Series lore is also explored in more detail through collectibles and optional side quests to expert effect.
I convinced Jurgens to show me the video feed from the colony. It's remarkable.
Navigating the cramped halls and sprawling mechanical spaces is nothing short of intense. Pitch-black rooms, blood-soaked corpses, and sinister whispers create a palpable tension that balances jump scares and dread perfectly. Necromorphs attack from all sides and attempt to surround Isaac, forcing you to adapt and be aware of your surroundings. Their tactics can begin to wear thin towards the latter portion of the journey, but they remain impactful. One dramatic improvement comes from reduced load times, which lead to the addition of a central tram that can be used to seamlessly explore the Ishimura. Sometimes doubling back to other locations to pursue a side activity can see you get ambushed, creating a nice sense of risk versus reward. Enemy encounters are visceral. An assortment of weapons helps you fight back against the necromorphs, each with its own strengths and drawbacks. The most effective way to dispatch enemies is to blast off their limbs and stomp a mud hole in vulnerable foes. The plasma cutter works like a pistol and can cleanly slice off limbs, while the pulse rifle has a high ammo capacity and secondary grenades. Stasis is another important tool used to briefly slow enemies down, giving you time to line up shots or flee in horror. Additionally, you can use stasis to grab objects like exploding barrels or severed limbs to launch back at foes, an essential tactic to preserve precious resources. There's a decent amount of enemy variety, with different strategies needed to dispatch each type of freak. Basic units run right at Isaac, while some smaller creatures cling to walls and shoot projectiles from a distance. Determining which enemy to prioritize can vary thanks to frantic encounters that shake up unit composition and a lack of resources for specific weapons, forcing you to rely on anything that's available. Exploring the ship and defeating enemies awards credits and resources used to upgrade Isaac's weapons and armor. Consequential resource management and upgrade paths give you a lot to think about, but it never feels overwhelming. While you can buy ammo at these stations too, it's usually best to stick with what you've gathered, as your scarce funds are needed to buy armor and upgrade nodes. There are 5 difficulties that affect different parameters, offering everyone the chance to find whatever challenge level they like. Additionally, the Impossible difficulty offers unique rewards for those brave enough to finish, and New Game Plus makes subsequent playthroughs an addictive prospect for those looking to fully upgrade everything and discover additional secrets. Dead Space doesn't forget the more natural terrors of its setting, and at certain points you have to contend with low-gravity sections, utilizing the suit's thrusters to float across wide spaces littered with busted ship parts, as well as organic debris. The original game only allowed for walking and leaping during these sections, so it's another important improvement that makes certain puzzles and boss fights more intricate. You also have to manage air supply to avoid suffocation in damaged sectors or exterior areas, heightening the sense of urgency and further shaking up combat as rotting creatures continue hunting you in these vulnerable situations. While some of the ship's layouts have been updated and expanded, fans of the original will encounter moments of nostalgic familiarity as you venture into more landmark locations. Smart navigation tools make it hard to get lost in Dead Space, but you do often have to work out puzzles to open blocked passages. These typically involve finding power bricks to open a door or rerouting power lines, but there are more complex engineering tasks too. These breaks amidst the constant threat of necromorphs are always welcome, although sometimes your new friends will crash the party when you're trying to work things out as well. Dead Space looks gorgeous, especially when it comes to lighting and the grotesque details that make its putrid, fleshy monsters look more terrifying than ever. Some areas are pitch black with only your flashlight cutting a narrow path through the darkness. Isaac's suit, however, can sometimes look really grainy and low res, while the tram and other areas can sporadically have the same issue. Thankfully, the performance is generally solid, with only a few minor hiccups happening during room transitions. This new version of Dead Space is the gold standard for what a remake can be, remaining faithful to the original game while also creating meaningful additions to exploration and character interactions. It's perfect for either new players or those who have trekked through the Ishimura countless times. After being dormant for nearly a decade, Dead Space has finally returned, and it's better than ever. Final score, 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching our review. We're Easy Allies. We've been writing about games for decades, and we also do podcasts, streams, shows, and more, all funded by regular viewers just like you. Head to patreon.com/easyallies to pitch in and get rewards. And be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay connected on YouTube. See you soon.